Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Sanobor Ahmad, and today I'll be presenting my dissertation project titled I Don't See Culture Exploring the Impact of Cultural Dimensions on Therapy Satisfaction. A little bit about me. I moved to the UK from Bangalore, and as an international student studying in the UK, I've been deeply interested in how cultural background shapes not only our worldview but also how we seek and experience support. Therapy satisfaction refers to how content a client feels with their therapeutic experience. It's a useful measure to evaluate the quality of therapy received from a client's perspective. It includes how a client perceives treatment outcomes, the level of engagement during therapy, or even the number of sessions attended and DNA. In order to make mental health care truly effective across contexts, therapists must train to be more tuned to how cultural identities shape clients' expectations, comfort levels, and definitions of well being. One key factor influencing therapy satisfaction is a therapist's ability to be culturally responsive. It means being aware of and adapting to the client's cultural values, communication style, and worldview. Without this responsiveness, even well intentioned therapists may fail to connect meaningfully with clients from diverse backgrounds. Unfortunately, therapists may unintentionally impose their own cultural norms, especially when Western models dominate training and academics. This can lead to what's called cultural encapsulation, a kind of blind spot where therapy becomes less effective for those whose values don't align with the model's assumptions about autonomy, emotional expression, and self discovery. So, what is culture? Culture is a shared system of meaning and information passed down through generations that help members of a group satisfy fundamental needs, seek fulfillment, and find purpose in life. This definition was given by Hofstad, and pardon my pronunciation if it's wrong, who put forth the concepts of individualism and collectivism. Collectivist cultures emphasize independence, uniqueness, and personal achievement. Collectivist cultures, in contrast, value interdependence, duty, and social harmony. These cultural dimensions are further divided into horizontal and vertical types. Horizontal orientations value equality, while vertical orientations accept hierarchy and authority. People can hold a mix of these traits, for instance, valuing both independence and social responsibility could shape how people interpret mental health and engage with therapy. These value orientations shape not just identity, but how distress is interpreted. For example, in certain collectivist cultures, emotional restraint can be seen as respectful, as it might respect the social cohesion. But in individualist cultures, the same restraint might be read as avoidance or something dysfunctional. So, cultural misinterpretations can easily occur if the therapists aren't attuned. What are the gaps in existing literature? Despite the increasing diversity in university populations, therapy research often focuses on Western models. Studies rarely account for multicultural or international students, and there's little exploration of how cultural values specifically influence therapy satisfaction. That's where the study aims to contribute. This study had two main goals. First, to examine how different cultural orientations influence therapy satisfaction. Second, to center the experiences of diverse UK based university students, many of whom are navigating a multicultural society in their day to day lives. The hypotheses of this study are that the higher scores in individualism, both vertical and horizontal, would predict higher therapy satisfaction, as these align more closely with Western therapy models. In contrast, I expected that higher collectivism scores would predict lower satisfaction due to potential value mismatches. I analyzed the data of a total of 82 participants, all current university students based in the UK with prior experience with therapy. Participants were recruited using convenient sampling through Sonar systems, Site Toolkit, and social media. Our dependent variable was therapy satisfaction, and our independent variable were the cultural dimensions. We used the individualism and collectivism scale, as well as the satisfaction with therapy and therapist scale. This survey took an average of 30 minutes to complete, and it was entirely conducted online. The survey included a consent page, inclusion criteria, demographic questions, the therapy satisfaction scale, followed by the individualism and collectivism scale. On to the results of this study. The multiple linear regression model was statistically significant and explained 26% of the variance in therapy satisfaction. This indicates a meaningful effect, especially for complex constructs like culture and therapy engagement. This chart illustrates how each cultural orientation predicts therapy satisfaction among participants. Each bar corresponds to one of the four cultural dimensions we measured: horizontal collectivism, vertical individualism, horizontal individualism, and vertical collectivism. The tallest bar is for horizontal collectivism, meaning this was the strongest positive predictor, and vertical individualism also showed a significant positive effect. In contrast, vertical collectivism shows a negative bar dropping below zero, indicating a significant negative relationship with therapy satisfaction. Finally, horizontal individualism was not statistically significant. Here's a simple summary of what I just explained. It summarizes how different cultural value orientations can influence the way individuals experience and evaluate therapy. To an extent, horizontal collectivism, which is equated with equality orientation, um, aligns closely with therapy models that stress empathy, collaboration, and emotional safety. These individuals likely felt more understood and validated in therapy, which enhanced satisfaction. This finding challenges the assumption that collectivist orientations always clash with Western therapy. Vertical individualism is achievement oriented and may see therapy as a strategic tool to enhance personal success and development. For example, CBT or DBT techniques nurture self efficacy, one's belief in their own abilities, and it might resonate with them. Vertical collectivism is duty oriented. There's a deference to authority which could reduce open dialogue in the therapeutic room. This may even result in the client seeing therapy as an obligation or or a pressure to conform to. It might mean that their main motivator has nothing to do with self actualization. And for therapists, this might seem tricky to navigate because how would you help them if they're working with you? Horizontal individualism is independence oriented within a framework of equality. Horizontal individualism was expected to be positively related to satisfaction, but it wasn't. One possible explanation is the tension between wanting independence and holding strong relational values. Rogers and Maslow often spoke about self actualization in the context of separating oneself from social obligations. This might not resonate with everyone. Some might even develop a sense of purpose outside oneself, such as in existential therapy. This study has several limitations that need acknowledging. The horizontal vertical individualism culture collectivism framework can oversimplify cultural identity. Culture is not static or homogeneous. Instead, viewing identity as an intracultural aspect or framework can be more helpful. We didn't collect data on several relevant variables that could have influenced therapy satisfaction, like the number of sessions attended, the severity of presenting mental health issues, the therapist's approach or mode of delivery. Qualitative context could have offered more depth by exploring themes and subthemes as well. It could be valuable to also examine the therapist's variables, a bit more about their cultural competence and perhaps their training as well. And finally, only 26% of satisfaction variance was explained, which suggests that there were many other contributing factors. Future research could examine specific therapy moments of cultural mismatch or cultural affirmation and their impact on satisfaction. Research could also study subdimensions rather than broad individualism and collectivism categories to better capture cultural nuance. Studies could also assess how navigating multiple cultural identities influences therapy satisfaction. As mentioned before, culture is not homogeneous. So changing the perspective could perhaps yield different results. Future research could also use mixed methods, combining interviews and scales, so like a qualitative and quantitative approach to explore how clients interpret therapy through their lived cultural identities. Finally, expanding beyond the student sample might increase how the data might be generalized to other populations as well. I hope this presentation has sparked some thought about how deeply cultural values can shape our therapeutic experience as a counselor and as a client. I'm happy to take your questions or hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for listening.